This is the B350 GT3, and of course B350 is a different chipset than 370X. However, the cool thing is that even though it's a bit more mainstream and economical, you're still going to be able to overclock your Ryzen chip on this chipset. So kind of get the best of both worlds, so to speak. And obviously, I don't know if you guys have heard this yet, but all the Ryzen chips will be fully unlocked, so you will be able to overclock them pretty much any one with a motherboard of this caliber. Pretty sweet. All right, y'all, that is going to wrap it up for my coverage of AMD here at CES 2017. I want to thank my sponsors so much for making this trip possible: MSI, Fractal Design, and CableMod. Go ahead and check out their links in the description below for more information on that. Thank you all so much for watching, and stay tuned for more CES coverage of CES. That was awkward.
AMD brought us to the suite here at CES 2017 to prove once and for all that Ryzen is real, it is physical, it is tangible, you can touch it. Well, you can't touch it, but I could touch it because I'm here, as long as I didn't care about like EST shocking it because these floors are carpeted. Not only do they have the couple of systems that I'm going to show you here, but they actually have systems from over a dozen of their partners. Everyone from PC case gear to what the devil is this thing? Whatever it is, it's water cooled, it's red, it looks actually pretty freaking bananas, and the logo's in Chinese. So I'm not going to try too hard to pronounce that one. Anyway, let's get back over here.
First shrine will be active soon. Steel yourselves, heroes. It is done. Activate.
Hey guys, Deslater Magic here, and an update on the ongoing drama that is the 5-card ban. And I wish I could come up with a clever nickname, but 5 just isn't a very exciting number. Okay, so let me at least run this one past you. The Pentaban. It's a pentagon of card banning. It's like the color pie in Magic the Gathering, except every color is a card that was banned. I really can't make it sound more exciting than it already is, because honestly, it's pretty nuts. I've been playing for, what, like 4 years, and I've never even seen a card get banned in Standard. So anyway, the word on the street is most people think that perhaps Wizards should have banned Aetherworks Marvel instead of Emrakul, because that was the actual problem. But a lot of people are kind of biased, I guess you could say, by the fact that bringing crap out for free is inherently broken and stupid. If you look at the actual power of the next closest replacement, is it really on par with Emrakul? And I would say definitely no, but then it comes down to how close is it. Now obviously I'm talking about free casting Ulamog on turn 4. It was Emrakul, but now it's Ulamog. And Emrakul would control your next turn, plus was the 13/13 that was incredibly difficult to destroy and had flying and had trample. Ulamog is a 10/10 indestructible on the ground, and he effectively has immunity to every destruction spell other than like an exile or a forced sacrifice. He doesn't have trample, but I would say that it's just as bad that he eats your deck 20 cards at a time when he swings, because in 2 to 3 turns you're dead. In fact, turn 4, 3 turns. So the normal stuff that you would do to stop a giant attacker on the ground that doesn't have trample, which is generate like a 1/1 token every single turn, it doesn't work because in 3 turns your deck's gone and you lose. Now as far as ways to kill him, well, let's go back to Emrakul. If you had a sorcery, because it had protection from instants, if you had a sorcery that would kill Emrakul, while they're controlling your turn, they would target that spell at something else. Now it's no longer in your hand. So it would take an absolute miracle to be able to kill Emrakul. Now, if you had a flying Death Toucher, we'll say, and somehow, I don't know, they couldn't get rid of it from your hand, I guess, all they have to do is stop swinging, because they won't cast it on the turn that they control your turn. So then the next turn they swing for 13, then you bring it out on the very next turn, and they swing for 13 again, but with trample. So if you had a 1/1 Death Toucher, you took 25 damage total after blocking. So you still lost. So basically the only thing that would kill Emrakul was a sorcery speed kill spell or something really exotic. Something like a forced sacrifice or a board wipe, or just something really weird. Especially for turn 4, it would be a little bit weird. And yeah, I mean, I'm kind of downplaying it. There are quite a few cards that will get rid of Emrakul, especially Stasis Snare, but it is kind of narrow. I mean, it's both, yeah, there's like a lot of cards, but are they cards that people actually play, or are they really obscure? And would people have them prepped on turn 4 with the mana? Maybe, maybe not. Can you even survive taking 13 damage on the first swing after they tap all your creatures to attack, block all of them, kill all of them, and then swing with 13/13 on the following turn? Now you get control of your next turn back. I mean, can you even come back from that? Was the 13 damage even lethal? In most cases, no, but their deck also does other things, and now you're starting with, at most, 7 health. Or not starting, but resuming the game now that Emrakul's dead. And then, what's to stop them from generating a little bit more energy and activating Aetherworks Marvel again? Strangely missing from Aetherworks Marvel's ability is exile Aetherwork Marvel or sacrifice it. You really don't want to be able to activate that twice. It should be a single shotter. If it whiffs, oh well, you just lost. So then the deck would be a Suicide Glass Cannon. You could still win with, like, I don't know, some other energy related cards, maybe like a Pommeler or something. I didn't look too close at what else is in the deck. Now, if you were playing like a blue energy Aetherworks Marvel deck, not only do you now have control and bounce, which is just horrific, but you can cast Contingency Plan, which would practically guarantee that in the next, well, 11 cards, there's something that you would want to get out. So the deck as a framework with Aetherworks Marvel still works, and if anything, it's only going to get worse with a little bit better fine-tuned energy generation in the next set. You could also bring out like a natural cast Metalwork Colossus as a backup, because a lot of these run non-creature artifacts. So, I mean, the deck without Emrakul is still a deck. I mean, you could literally replace Emrakul with, like, basic lands and the deck would still do something. So it had a backup plan all along. It had secondary ways of winning, and you could reload the Aetherworks Marvel with 6 more energy and just activate it again. So what are people doing now? Well, according to the market, it would appear that people are just buying up Ulamog and putting him in because he's the next largest. He has hit over $20 now. He was hovering around, I don't know, 10-ish, depending upon what site you looked at. And that's a little bit of a problem because he's almost as bad as Emrakul. So let's go back to the comparison between those two. The number of total permanents and spells that can stop him are approximately the same as Emrakul. I mean, just purely mathematical, how many ways to stop him, it's really low. Basically nothing can realistically -10 him, so that's out. Force stacking, I mean, those are obscure, they're expensive, and they typically are sorceries. I don't even remember which ones rotated out with Origins. Death Toucher can't block and kill him, so, I mean, you're left with next to nothing. You basically have to exile him with something resembling Stasis Snare. I mean, that's like a commonly played card that would stop him. There's really obscure ways to stop him, but like I said, nobody plays them. Now, there's one exception that immediately comes to mind, and that's bouncing him back to hand, because if you put him into hand, they're never going to get to 10 mana to cast him, and Aetherworks Marvel can no longer get him out of the library because he's in their hand. Now, Emrakul had protection from instants, which meant very few spells could still bounce her back to hand. With Ulamog, now anything can bounce him back to hand, and there's more than a couple spells that do that. Unfortunately, who the hell is playing Blue Bounce? I mean, that's like not exactly a top tier deck. It's one that I'm considering building. It's kind of just as dickish as my Gravity Bomb deck, plus really similar in strategy. So, you know, do I really want to build it? But it's effective. I mean, I've seen people play with it. It does work. But past that, I mean, exiling and bouncing. Can't really turn him into a frog anymore. You could just keep pinning him down over and over and over with Gravity Bomb, technically. It actually is like a realistic, durable strategy. So, I mean, just look at it. Okay, so you take out Emrakul, put in Ulamog. It's almost the same damn deck. I mean, there's like one tiny little additional weakness that honestly nobody's playing. So the deck is just as big of a menace, just as big of a problem. Honestly, I would say that banning Emrakul did next to nothing. So the Ulamog deck is a second-rate deck, but it's so powerful it's going to win anyway. So yes, they nerfed it. Yes, they took down the power level, but it's still virtually unbeatable. The number of decks and strategies and cards that can beat it are just, they're just stupid. So, I mean, yeah, you've got a perfectly open shot at, like, fragmentizing the Aetherworks Marvel itself, and then they have to go find another one, which may or may not happen. But I just don't see happening what everybody's saying, which is, oh, everybody's just gonna run 12 copies of, of different artifact destruction. What would be left in the deck? I mean, that deck would suck. Though, yeah, it would beat this deck specifically and a couple other artifact-heavy decks, but it wouldn't beat anything else because there's no room for anything else that doesn't suck, to an extent. If it was deeply blue with a lot of scry and draw control, and then you had like gigantic like Garrus Masterpiece and Leviathans and Sphinxes and stuff in there, plus counter spells, yeah, you'd probably have a pretty solid deck, but, you know, the whole I'm gonna counter stuff X% of the time while bringing out giant creatures, it always has been a deck archetype in blue, and I think it's more playable than ever right now, but I don't think in general that that's a good deck. So your chances of stopping a Marvel-based deck are pretty low unless you built it specifically to beat a Marvel-based deck, because, you know, destroying indestructible creatures, stopping energy-based activated abilities, and blowing up artifacts, those aren't the most common things in the world. Like, if you're playing white-red vehicles, yeah, you probably got an entire sideboard full of artifact destruction, but then you already lost the first game. Are you going to draw into what you need, plus still be able to bring out something that wins, like a creature to crew and a vehicle, while also pulling the third category, which is artifact destruction? I think that's a little bit unrealistic. So my summary is the Aetherworks Marvel decks still really can't be beaten reasonably. It at least would win 60 or 70% of the time against the average deck. You can sideboard your way out of it pretty easily, but if it's already came to that point, all they have to do is beat you once or go to the time limit. That's just a little bit too narrow, a little bit too unbeatable. And I have to mention, there have been decks this powerful before, especially with Cons of Terrakir, like Esper Control, Esper Dragons. That deck was just completely mental. But I think people have such a big problem with the Aetherworks Marvel decks because you're bringing out something for free. It's like cheating. It resembles cheating at the game. Oh, you've got Ulamog. Good luck ramping up to 10. Your whole deck is built on ramp. You've got Scions. I hope I don't destroy your Scions. Oh, look, you finally got him out. You deserve to win. Yay. Okay, no, you're putting Ulamog in there and then, oh, turn 4, tap this, do this. Oh, look, Ulamog's free. I didn't have to pay the 10. Woo, I broke magic. It doesn't have a good feel to it. The deck just feels dickish, broken, and cheatery. So I think that's why people have a bigger problem with it than anybody else, and people were getting like really sour over this deck, and I think that's why Wizards took the really, really drastic and almost effective step to nerf it a little bit. Do I think that they'll include Aetherworks Marvel in a secondary emergency ban along with that stupid goat? Which apparently is a cat. I'm going to keep calling it a goat because honestly, Felidar anything looks like a goat. Look at the other cards. It's not a damn cat. If anything, it's like a jackalope, which is a mythological creature from the Southwest. So the Felidar jackalope is going to ruin Standard until Wizards pulls their head out of their butts and decides to ban it out of cycle. Will they take Marvel with it? And in fact, if they take Marvel with it, have Emrakul back. I mean, honestly, I wouldn't say it's unreasonable to invest a little bit in Emrakuls if they hit, I'll say $4 or less. I think they might bring Emrakul back because you could put her in like a Delirium-ish deck and maybe get her out in a reasonable amount of time, but like a much more fair amount of time where your opponent has time to actually plan, and adapt and prepare a removal spell. And yeah, I mean, but you got to pay 8 or 9 for her minimum in a Delirium-style deck. That's pretty reasonable. I mean, that's, the Ulamog decks with green ramp and Scions and, Cryptolith, right, and all that to get them out. Those decks were pretty fair. They were beatable. They were good, they were strong, but they were fair. So I would say that in my prediction, and in an ideal world where Wizards is super hands-on and willing to admit their mistakes, which honestly is debatable whether they're at that point or not, they will ban Aetherworks Marvel, unban Emrakul, ban the stupid little goat cat, and honestly, they're probably going to have to ban one or both of those two that were printed as a masterpiece, but also were in the set. It's Planar Bridge and, what the hell's the other one? Oh, of course, Paradox Engine. I mean, yeah, it costs 5, and yeah, it doesn't have Indestructible, but there are so many combos, and it's so easy to ramp to 5. If you don't believe me, you might want to reserve comment until you see my next video. It's going to be more depressing than looking at memes for 12 hours straight. I might have to put a suicide hotline number at the end of the next video. It's going to be covering all of the unfair and infinite combos and way too early game combos that will win the game on turn 3, 4, or 5. Oh, obviously involving Aether Revolt. So, Standard is already a disaster. I mean, Wizards admitted, yeah, Emrakul's too powerful, that deck's too powerful, Smuggler's Copter's too powerful, the state of Standard is a joke, we agree with everybody who took the poll, and Aether Revolt is only going to make it worse. So, it would seem that my initial and ongoing review and response to Aether Revolt is 100% accurate. It's broken, it's unfair, it's too powerful, too many decks are going to dominate, and the combos are just modern level stupid. The only redeeming quality of Aether Revolt is, one, they printed it so damn powerful, it's literally the only thing they could have done to make a 184 card set worth a damn thing from a box EV standpoint. And two, they're willing to ban the living crap out of everything it takes to make Standard playable again and make America great again. Or at least make Kaladesh great again. I think they should build a wall to keep all of the Aetherlings out. Anyway, wish I had better news, but basically everybody's dumping Emrakul and placing with Ulamog, same stupid deck. And now that the other decks got nerfed, we have one number 1 deck, and it's the Marvel deck. Oh well, hopefully Wizards does something about it. And hopefully you guys all pull some really expensive $200 masterpieces, and then go on to also dominate the pre-release with the card. Don't forget to bring really nice sleeves and top loaders. I'll see you guys next video.
Another shrine.
Hey guys, Desolator Magic here, and back by popular demand, it's MTG Mistakes. Why did it take so long for my #1 most popular series that a lot of people are like, oh my god, this helped me out so much? Why did it take so long for me to make another video? Mostly because I ran out of things that people are doing incorrectly. I mean, this is video number 34. Like, that's a lot of things if you think about it. Although you could count my videos saying that the design of Aether Revolt was an MTG mistake. Bit of a different angle, but whatever. But this one, instead of being gameplay oriented, is actually about deck building. And hey, if you think about it, you could make as few mistakes as possible and show up with a drastically not correct deck, like one that's just designed wrong. Well, I got the inspiration for this one by a bunch of really stupid comments on a couple of my videos lately. And then I remembered I've heard this in real life too, and it just never works out. It's actually one of the most common mistakes people make in general. Let's say you have a deck. It's green energy or red creature rush, you know, with all menace. So you got your deck idea down, but you keep losing because, both of those decks would honestly not be that great. I mean, they're good decks. They have synergy. They have a central theme. The math is spot on. They're just not that great. If you're going to do a single purpose, I'm not interacting with my opponent deck, you better hope that it's way faster than theirs. I mean, way faster. Like turn 4 or 5 faster. Otherwise, like I always say, it's a drag race deck. If you do what you do without screwing with what they're doing, then you better do it faster or they're going to get your life total to 0 quicker. So without you two screwing with each other, the fastest deck wins. That's probably a better way to say it. So what do people do? They say, well, I keep losing to artifacts will save, because this will be like an Aether Revolt example. So everybody tells me, oh, well, this combo and that combo and that combo, that combo, those 4 combos that you said, yeah, they're early game, yeah, they're fast, but there's like a 1-cost artifact destruction. There's, still negate is still legal, and there's still like a 2-cost artifact destruction, so you could stop it. I could make 5 videos about what's all wrong with that statement, but this one is just focusing solely on the fact that that's not how you build a deck. So you take your deck, your green energy deck, and you put in, we'll say 2 times 4, so 8 total copies of some like naturalized clone. I don't remember the name of an actual green artifact destruction, but there are some. So you throw those in, you're gonna stop artifacts. Now, at a total population of 8, I think you've got like something like a 78% chance of your first 7 cards starting with those cards. So if you include like turn 2, it goes up, 80+%. Now, unfortunately, that's, it's good, but it's not that reliable. If you up it to like something like 14, it's somewhere in the 90-95+% range, and that's reliable. But you're only putting in 8. You're just modding your deck a little bit because you're sick of losing to artifacts. We'll say some big artifact combo. We'll say turn 4 Metalwork Colossus. Okay, that's what keeps killing you. So you're going to throw in Naturalize. So that and another clone of it. Well, you had to take something out. That's the problem. So you probably took out, we'll just say 8 creatures because it was an all creature energy green deck. This isn't the most accurate to life example. Well, you just lowered the total damage of your deck because by turn 7, you're going to have less creatures on the field than you would with the old design. So you just lowered your damage output. So the question becomes, when you lowered your damage output and your average damage by turn, X, is it a net positive trade-off with stopping what they're doing by blowing up their artifacts? Now, if they're just running like one of the new artifact convoke decks, I'm still going to keep calling it that because I still don't remember what the hell it's called. Improvise, I think. If you just blow up one and then maybe you get a second spell, blow up a second one, they just have 2 less mana. That's nothing. You probably would have been better off with the creatures. Now, if you blow up a Gear Hulk or you blow up a Colossus, that's a lot of bang for your buck if it's only 2 mana. I mean, that's huge. You wouldn't have even been able to swing at all with that on the field. Aetherworks Marvel? Oh yes, that is worth blowing up because now their deck is going to do very close to nothing. Those decks are kind of glass cannon-y to an extent. Once they finally got one of their 4 Aetherworks out and they want to go get Emrakul or something with it, if you blow it up, that's it. I mean, their board state at that point is probably pathetic, and you can continue summoning slightly less creatures because they didn't have blockers in the first place. Their deck was just more giant creatures faster, and that's how they were beating you. So in that case, yes, you should put in the 8 removal spells. But here's the problem with that. now you have to mulligan until you start the game with 1, or you're going to lose, you know, unless their side self-destructs as well and they have to start with 5 and all 4 of their Aetherworks are on the bottom of the library. You know, you never know when they're going to self-destruct, but, you know, a 70-80% chance you're going to be mulliganing a lot. That's at least once every other round, a round of 2 to 3 games in F&M, I mean. So that's pretty bad. I mean, that's opening yourself up to a really dumb, unnecessary requirement. So if you just really need to shut down artifacts because everybody's running artifacts, which, I mean, yeah, fast forward to Aether Revolt, yeah. Let's say you go nuts and you put in 16 removals, okay? You just had to pull about half of your deck. So what the hell in your deck is left that's going to win the game? Let me propose it another way. Somebody else puts out, we'll just say a 40-20 deck, which that's a little bit of a stretch, but it's 40 cards and then 20 lands. So they've got a central strategy, a theme, everything builds on itself, maybe everything gets counters, maybe everything can tap for more mana and it ramps up to a giant free creature. Maybe it's, you know, a fetch deck. Maybe it's an all planeswalkers deck. Whatever it is, it's tight. It's down to a science. It's a good, solid deck. So you've got the same thing. You've got, you know, green energy. You got your electrostatic pummeler. You got your Dynavolt towers. You're all set for energy. It's just their deck is clearly better, faster, and more likely to win sooner. So what do? You take out 16 cards and put in artifact destruction? I mean, what is left in your deck? There's no combos. There's no anything. There's nothing left to win the game in a reasonable amount of time. And no matter how many artifacts you destroy on their side, it's still not going to make you any faster. And quick little aside, that's why spells like Spell Queller are insane, because they shut down whatever your opponent was doing, and I'd say bolster your board side, but that's an actual thing. They give you more attack power at the same time. More blockers, more attack power, more board presence, while also shutting them down. That is like a game-winning swing in card form. I do think Spell Queller is a little bit too powerful. Everybody says it, but I'll repeat it. Turning creatures into spells on a mass scale was a little bit of a design mistake. It makes decks a little bit too good. But anyway, the mistake that people make is not use Spell Queller. They use Naturalize and Reclaiming Vines and Fragmentize, you know, whatever. So they're equipped and ready to blow up anything that the opponent brings out, except